Okay, well, here it is for past the hour, so I think it is time for us to get started. Others may still trickle in, but that is okay. Thank you for joining this webinar hosted by Bistory, where we present our work on a platform we call Orbit One, a platform about data orchestration. In other words, like the title says, managing analytics spread over multiple platforms. But not just that. And so I'll do the polite thing and introduce myself first, and then tell you what other things we're going to be talking about as part of that platform. So my name is Timothy. I'm the lead data developer at Bistory, and I am one of the people who has been working on Orbit One. Aside from that, I have a relatively extensive experience of working with our clients, mainly in the Tableau space. I've been doing that as a consultant for over a decade, but I do focus more on the development of data-related products nowadays. And that is the whole reason uh, that I'm here to talk to you today. A bit more explanation about that, and you'll recognize this typical slide. You see, oh yeah, this is the boasting slide where they say that they have so many important clients and they work with such big companies and there's so many people working there. Which I mean, it is a really interesting company to work for, Bistory, and I do like that, but that's not the reason that we included the slide this time. In fact, the reason is to give you an idea of the vastness of the pool of clients that we have worked for. We've been working with Tableau as a partner since they landed in Europe, more or less 2014, 15. And we have worked with, as the slide shows, over 200 happy customers. In my head, I thought we had over 600 customers. Maybe that just means that 400 are not necessarily happy. I'll leave that in the middle. But no, just joking, of course. But the point here is a wide array of customers. And that has led to us being in a specific position with regards to Tableau, which almost all of our customers use, and how they use it, which is the reason why we developed a product we call Orbit One. And let me be a bit more specific about that so I can just share my experience. I've not only been a consultant for analytics using Tableau Desktop, but I've been a consultant mostly for Tableau Server, actually, as well as migrations to Tableau Cloud, so that more technical side. And I cannot keep track of the amount of times I have done similar, but not quite exactly the same work for a client in that Tableau server space, like writing maintenance scripts to synchronize users or writing scripts that can pull and review permissions on Tableau server, or things that not only me, but other clients, other consultants from Bistory have done at other clients countless times. And each time we do share some of the work we've done. It's not always transferable between customers, of course, but in most cases, we find ourselves just picking up the same thing and then putting it down in another Tableau server environment for another client, and then tweaking it for it to work that way. And we're seeing more and more patterns like that. Again, we're collecting over a decade of experience of over 70 consultants, and we thought, well, we really are hearing a lot of common themes like that Tableau server maintenance or governance on Tableau server, growth pains, working across different Tableau platforms like server and cloud in the same company, or even different analytics platforms like adding Power BI to the mix. Functionality not quite being the same between those, and then much more specific things as well, like generating a document based on a dashboard, be it a PDF or something else, which are granted functionalities that Tableau has been very responsive around. Like many of the wishes of those clients that we know about have been released over the past decade. Um, but still, we see that there are other things that um, might not, be scoped for release, or for various reasons are not eligible, let's say, to become part of the core platform that is Tableau mostly. So we thought, let's try something new. We have a huge library of problems, if you will, of situations, of minor issues, of bigger issues, of annoyances also that we are seeing with clients. And instead of always developing one-offs, one-off answers, one-off scripts, one-off solutions to those specific problems for specific clients, why don't we take a step back and try and build a platform that can be used by any of those clients as well as future ones, and that addresses these themes, these annoyances, these common issues that we are all too familiar with. And why we would do that is I think kind of obvious. On one hand, it would give our team, our consultants, better tools to work with, like they can bring this in where they work with clients and be more efficient and provide better value. And at the same time, if clients are so inclined, they can be more self-sufficient by using the platform themselves. So it sounds like a situation where both ourselves as well as yourselves, potential clients or existing clients, would benefit. Now, this all sounds very good on paper, but we needed to start somewhere. So about a year and a half ago, I think, we did a first survey to find what really are the most common problems that we can deal with. We repeated this a few times in the past 18 months, and we did that because we want to have the right direction. Um, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is based on our experience purely on site, working with clients of our 70 plus consultants, we have a list of probably 150 different things that we could consider to integrate in that platform that resolves issues around your analytics environments. But we need to become aware of which ones have a real demand for this to be valuable to potential clients and for us to develop the right thing. So we did several surveys, in fact, both internally with our consultants as well as account managers, and then externally with our companies we work with. And we did this in a relatively simple format, just a number of questions, and we asked for each question, how much do you agree with this? And I'll walk us through 5 example questions that were part of those surveys. And as I read them aloud, feel free to think about how relevant this is to you, or irrelevant. Let's be honest. Some features, will be very specific, and others will be applicable to almost everyone, I think. But as an example, there's a lot of people we talk to who say we have more than one BI tool, and this can cause confusion for end users. Like, where do I look for this particular report? And again, so this was a question in the survey, and then they would rate this from, I think, 1 to 5 to determine how relevant it is for them, and we would aggregate that to find out about the situation of having more than one BI tool. Other questions included, how do you work with subscriptions in Tableau, the email functionality for reporting, if you will? Do you agree that they might lack certain functionality, these subscription features? And then, again, 1 to 5, they provided feedback. Another statement is, as admins, we don't have time to help everyone else with access management specifically. I think might apply to larger companies, enterprises. Um, Another statement would have been, I feel like my insights and analytics should be integrated where I work, Teams, Slack, or another IM client, because as you know, more and more work takes place in Teams or Slack or similar clients because of how we work in this modern era, how we work remotely, and on one hand, and on the other hand, how these tools have evolved to support more than just simple messaging. So we thought we'd, ask for a pulse about that as well. And then just another one, a final example of one of those statements. We need to translate this report in 4 languages, but it updates too frequently, and that adds overhead. So imagine, in Tableau, having to always apply the same change 4 times in 4 different languages. That I think gets tiresome quite quickly. Now, drumroll, the survey results are, and I think this is aggregated from our last version of the survey, it does say 2026. Um, we saw this, and I'm not going to go through the chart in detail, but it's just to prove to you that We eat our own dog food. We use Tableau for reporting on the survey that we executed. This is the most natural thing in the world. But I will actually cover the emerging themes on the right that will also be the focus for today's demos. So after this, maybe rather theoretical and abstract introduction, we're just going to show you how Orbit One effectively answers 5 of those different concerns or issues or annoyances. And so you can get the best feeling, hopefully, for how our products might help you as well. We see a lot around, and I'm just listing the emerging themes on the right now, cross-platform confusion. So nowadays, almost every company in all size brackets has more than just one Tableau server. They may have several sites that may be on Tableau Cloud or elsewhere, but they may also be using a completely different tool aside because of different capabilities, because of governance, and that makes perfect sense. So that's a situation we may want to address. As for the second point, I qualified that as just sending insights. It's basically just taking the work you do, the dashboards, the insights, and consuming that elsewhere, like subscriptions, email, Slack, Teams, etc. And then we see a lot of, well, smaller, but many of those. We see a lot of situations of annoyances around how admins, as well as analysts, think admins and creators, have repetitive actions that they need to execute. And automation is one of the things that we can work on as well. So that is going to be a part of what we want to address. Okay, so step one, find the right issues. Check. Clearly, we have identified issues that we can provide solutions to. So step two, let's actually build those solutions, which is what we did. And I'm going to showcase them to you in a minute. Maybe I'll just add one more thing to this, which is we're commonly referring today here in this webinar, as well as in our other conversations, to Orbit One. And Orbit One is a platform that, let's say, enables all those different solutions. But you don't have to purchase the full platform to benefit from one single solution. We also refer to them as module, and they're kind of a, pick them on a menu offering, if you will. So if you say, well, it's very nice, I'm really interested in improving subscriptions and doing report bursting, do I need the solution for the cross-platform thingy and the analyst's task as well? No, we're viewing these as completely different offerings, but they do all are enabled by the platform we refer to as Orbit One. So hoping not to cause confusion with that, but we can always address that or questions when we get to that. But now it's time for the, in my opinion, fun parts. It's demo time. So I'm going to go through one storyline with a few scenarios to illustrate more specific use cases based on the themes that we found. And hopefully that narrative will resonate with you, either specifically at one point where you say, yes, I know this very well, or in general that you might be familiar with those things, having used Tableau for a longer time. So starting the narrative, and I will have to read from my notes, apologies for that. And also apologies for the AI generated images, but it is what it is. I mean, it's very convenient. Did you know, by the way, that you are allowed to use any AI generated image like the ones you create with Google Gemini in your presentations, like free of any strings attached, unlike stuff you find on Google Images, hence the choice to do that here. Anyway, that is maybe not what you're here for. But here's issue number one. We have this person here, and you see the program they have open on their leftmost laptop. This person has so much work in their company that they need 2 laptops to do all that. And they're saying, oh my God, every month we need to produce the same PowerPoint presentation. And yes, Tableau released export to PowerPoint, but really, I don't see a way that I can design a full workbook with 66 slides and make that as good looking, as flexible as a presentation, I would want to do the opposite. I need to use a PowerPoint template and insert charts in there. And so this guy needs to do this all the time, and their full-time job is to do that. So we thought, well, this is a common theme. There are many clients where we see this situation where exporting to different formats is a thing, not only PowerPoint. But we will start with PowerPoint because that is kind of the most tangible example that I think we can give you. So on to Orbit One, and I'm just going to slide over here. And so this is our Orbit One production instance. Again, we're going to look at specific modules, specific features that you can access separately without having to look at all the different modules. It may be a bit overwhelming because there's so many here, but let's focus on what we need here. The module, the tool that we're going to look at first that supports the PowerPoint generation is Insight Messaging. We called it this because initially this was about messaging insights to Slack and Teams, just like Tableau supports to email an image. But we wanted to extend that. We wanted to support more formats, and PowerPoint is one of those. So Insight Messaging is a play on instant messaging, which those apps do. But it is much more flexible than that, and you'll see a few examples of how. And let's start with that first item that we need to work on. So Orbit One is set up in my company. It is connected to our analytics environments, Tableau specifically in this case, and I can create a task that I can schedule to do that work that I need to do. So I'll zoom in a little bit and I'll call this from my clipboard demo part one, generate PowerPoint, and I will select that specific format. I will also search for a specific entity that I need to use for this. And I forget what it was called. Like an entity, by the way, refers to a dashboard or a data source because I could be connecting this to many things. And I think it has chart in the name. Yeah, here. So I have a workbook on my Tableau server that contains the visuals for my presentation. I should perhaps show you the other side of things as well. I have the presentation open. It has an intro slide and it has placeholders. So it really works like a template. These placeholders are rather enigmatic, I'll admit, but these are references that Orbit One can generate for you, that Insight Messaging can generate for you. You can copy and paste them into the PowerPoint. And everywhere where Orbit One finds one of these text boxes with a reference that it generated, it will replace that with the chart, with the image of the chart. So you can effectively work, if you want, with a PowerPoint that is 100 slides long, that has your yearly shareholder meeting stats. Like it can go that far, and you can automatically populate it with the charts that you need. And again, for this, so we're putting this together, we will be using Insight Messaging, and I'm defining the task as we speak. So title, format, the charts. I select one of them here, but the placeholders will work with any chart that is connected to Orbit One. Here is the presentation. I can write any message. Oops. Um, and then I'm not going to go through the more advanced settings. I'm not going to schedule it. I'll run it manually. But one thing I will do, and I know this becomes a bit complex, but I will have to use what we call an advanced configuration because we're going to link this to PowerPoint. And to do that, I need to have a Google Sheet that references that PowerPoint, that in our case is on Google Drive. It sounds like it's a lot of work, but these are things that we would initially set up, take a few hours maybe to get the whole platform connected to all your environments and all your stuff that's on Google Drive or OneDrive or in a database or whatever. And once that's set up, then this is a breeze. Now again, I just need to configure this at this point, so it's just about copying and pasting what I need here, and I just need to specify the range. And you'll see why there's a Google Sheet behind this. It could be a database table, but you'll see this is just scenario one. Later, you're going to see much more extensive uses of this, and then you'll see why this is the design we chose, even for the PowerPoint generation. Because there's also a title and a recipient here per email. And so I just need to finalize this by specifying that my data is going from row, well, not the rows, but the columns A to E, and that should be it. So I'll zoom back out because the table here needs to fit, I guess. And I have my task here that is about generating the PowerPoint. I'm the creator, it connects to a Tableau environment, it's never been run, and it uses the Google Sheet that we just saw, and it exports to PowerPoint. Let's just run it because it might take a minute. After all, what Orbit One now has to do is get this PowerPoint from Google Drive and then resolve every reference, every placeholder here, which again I just copied from Orbit One, and replace that with the PowerPoint. Well, sorry, with the image for the dashboard. Lots of different terms to use. And at some point, I should be receiving that email. Let's see. So it is 11:24. That's this time. So this is a current email. And I received from Orbit One, even though there's my image, but that's only because that's how it's configured. I received a PowerPoint presentation that I will download and that I will open. And here it is. And I'm opening the same thing, but now as I go through the slides, look, there are charts instead of placeholders in all kinds of formats and dimensions, and always maps because they look good, like the slide says, even donut charts if you want. So here, I have successfully generated my presentation automatically. And so being this very tired analyst, I now gain how many ever hours a day or week where I don't have to actually put the charts in the PowerPoints anymore, but rather I can focus on building better charts, surfacing better insights, and then just having Orbit One do the generation here. So excellent start if you ask me. And this was issue number one, or theme number one. We need to generate material that uses Tableau charts. So Insight Messaging can do this. And so let's say that this person's boss comes in and says, right, very good. So that means you have more time for me. Here's the deal. Whereas you used to make one presentation, you now need to make this same PowerPoint for 17 different divisions in our company. And he'll be like, oh, really? Yeah, okay, boss, no problem, because we're all very helpful and motivated to, do what we have to do. Um, and well, initially this might sound like a big issue because, well, how are you going to do this? You're going to use 17 different tasks on Insight Messaging, even if you have that tool available? Well, maybe not. Enter the second functionality that is part of Insight Messaging in Orbit One as well, which is its ability to burst reports, not just PowerPoint, but it can take any export format and any destination. And let me enumerate that for clarity. So any format being image, PowerPoint, data, so table, CSV, PDF, and it can burst that to any destination, email, Slack, Teams, Google Chat. And let's take a step back and also emphasize the word burst, because those of you who have been in business intelligence for a longer time will be very familiar with this. There are tools that do this really quite well. And let's admit Tableau is not necessarily one of them. The concept of bursting is the concept of taking one report and creating many copies, maybe with different filters for different users. So variations on the same thing, same visual, same dashboard, but just different contents, different data behind it. Enter the reason why this works through Google Slides. Here is the second Google Sheet we can use for this. And here there are 17 rows, except of course the title row, for 17 divisions with a filter defined. So I'm pretty sure that for those of you who use Tableau regularly, these will look very familiar. And what I've done is really, I've just taken every possible division that our company has, and I've copied the row, and I've added a message here. So you see there's a formula here. This can be completely generated based on the data that you have. You can feed this sheet from, I don't know, your directory that contains that information with users, with teams, with anything. And the recipients will get, ideally, if the demo works, a filtered copy for their specific situation. Let's try it. So I pre-created this task because the configuration itself is the exact same, except we point to a different sheet. And I'm going to run this. And it might take a moment for the first ones to show up, but that's a perfect timing for me to take a sip of my water. Okay, so it should be running as we speak. I'll go to my inbox and I'll just start refreshing. And you can see that some are coming in. I have accessories, I have appliances. I'm using a keyboard shortcut to refresh, by the way. And as we are talking, more and more are coming in. But let's see, these need to be specific to that department that we are talking about, right? So this is the art department, division, sorry, whichever nomenclature starting with a D. I'll open this one and oh, look, the title slide itself already contains a reference to which division it is. So I'm assuming that this is going to be correct. And I do see here in the title for this sheet that is used in here a mention of the division as well, and a certain Pareto chart, which might very well be my favorite type of chart. I'm not sure. But that aside, let's just compare with another one. So back to the inbox, I'll throw this one away, and maybe chairs is the next thing we're interested in. And after we've scanned for viruses, we can obtain this and open the new PowerPoint. And here it is for the chairs division with a different looking Pareto chart. So yes, we are effectively managing to burst reports from Tableau, which even with classic subscriptions to email and with images is not possible. But we're not doing that with images. We're doing that with PowerPoint templates where we are replacing the dashboard. So that is, if you ask me, relatively powerful. Okay, very good. So I'll let it continue. I'm going to get a lot of emails, but I don't really mind. Thankfully, I use keyboard shortcuts a lot, so I can just archive them all right away. Um, we're going to go to the final, I guess, part of the first three scenarios. There's five in total, but we're going to stay within insight messaging because there's one thing we haven't shown you, which is the manager comes back in and says, wow, fantastic, you've emailed these 17 divisions their quarterly slide deck. But here's the problem. We are a super modern company. I mean, can you believe it? We use Orbit One Insight Messaging. Um, Being super modern, actually going to ban email for all internal use and only allow it for external use. So we would like you to use Slack instead. Can you please do that when you are sending out those 17 PowerPoints? So obviously our employees like, holy crap, really that as well? But of course, Orbit One has the answer here. And I've prepared the third demo task here. I'll show you what's behind it. Again, the definition is in Google Sheets because that is quite flexible. And in this case, I'm only doing 3 because I don't want to be cleaning up 17 Slack messages. Although these go to demo channels, these are references to demo channels. I've used the ID, but I think you can use the name as well. And so here um, you will see that we're going to be sending them to specific divisions channels. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember the name. I think if we have a lot of demo channels. Insight messaging, demo, or is it demo accessories, account Y? I don't know. I'll see where it lands. I think I'm in the channel. Anyway, so instead of email, I have 3 Slack destinations here. I could add email to that as well, by the way, as a separate column. I could add Teams to that. You could even be using Slack and Teams at the same time. But let's go with this as it is now. And let me kick off the task. So again, remember what we're doing. We've seen different formats. We've seen bursting. Now we're adding not only the fact that there is email, but that there are different types of destinations we can send this to as well. And as I go back to Slack, I see, here. Oh, looks like there is an error in demo part 2. Maybe this is because there's a row with incorrect data in there. But we're looking for the third task to start. So let's see how that is doing. I can see the error in here, by the way. So for each task I run, I have very extensive reporting telling me how many went through. But here, oh, apparently, yeah, the mail server temporarily rejected the message. This is probably because I've been spamming my inbox and there are guardrails in place for email not to be able to do that. So this must be why that is the case. And there's information, etc., but I don't need that right now. Anyway, it looks like the 3 IM messages were sent. So what I really wanted to see is here for furniture. It's furniture, but they get the art division newsletter. I have received the presentation. And again, just in case, let's open that one. Um, yep, here we go. Art again, albeit sent to Slack instead of email. And then I have the other one here for appliances in technology. And I have, what is it going to be? Accessories for office supplies. Quite powerful, again, because we're using various destinations that you may have wanted to consume your insights in, but have not been able to do because of the limitations in existing platforms subscriptions. Anyway, so that was, I guess, a big part one. I'll close PowerPoint because there's a ton of windows open. And we'll continue our scenario here, and we'll go to a completely different module this time. And here, like you see, he not only has 2 laptops, but he has an additional desktop computer and a tablet to his work because he's being overloaded so much. And so say manager comes in and says, yeah, thanks, perfect. But now look, we have a completely new report we need you to develop. And he thinks, okay, fantastic. I'm just going to develop a report, which is what I was hired to do. I'm an analyst after all. Yeah, says the manager. But here's the deal. Because we live in Belgium, I'm guessing that for most of you in the audience, that'll be the case too. This report needs to be available in 4 different languages, the 3 official languages of the country, plus English, because that is the lingua franca for some of our activities. So he's like, no, okay, dear manager, how often do we need this report? Yes, 4 times per month. So he basically knows, okay, I'm going to be doing this every week for at least a day because I need to make the same change 4 times, and I'm going to hate this. Except he remembers, oh, wait, we bought the full package for Orbit 1. We also have access to something called broadcast. Holy crap, what is that? Broadcast? Well, it is exactly what you need to do this. And let me just show you. Um, our analyst has built the report once. The data set here is completely different. I guess I'm signed out. It's my own running data, I think. And he has created this template workbook this time with placeholders. Like he did not necessarily intend the dashboard to be called double square brackets run underscore underscore blah, 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 more title blah, blah, blah. But instead, these are things that Orbit 1 will detect, that broadcast, the feature in Orbit 1 will detect and handle for us, translate for us. How does it work? Again, we have used a Google Sheet as an example, but these values could be pulled from a database or anywhere. And I think I need broadcast examples. I mean, that would make sense. Yes, here it is. And we have the definitions here mostly. It's set up very similarly as the insight messages we saw earlier. I have created a task that I link to this, and this contains the replacements to make. Again, it's quite static in Google Sheets, but this can be populated automatically or drawn from a database. And sorry, I forgot German in the demo. I guess I will add that afterwards, but we have 3 languages as an example. And these are really just replacements in the dashboards. But we can do more like updating colors. We could do updating connections, so there's no time for that today. But any modification to a workbook can technically be executed here. And I'll show you the translation right now as an initial example. I'm going to stay in this project and I'm going to navigate to broadcast here in Orbit 1. And I have this ready this time. Again, same setup, connected to the Google Sheet, which lists what it's going to do, and I'll run it. And I think it's quite fast, so I'll immediately pivot back to Tableau Server and just start refreshing the page, I guess. And again, I get signed out. Oh, because my session was used, technical details, but here at 11:38, which is the current time, I suddenly have 3 more copies of the reports in French, Dutch, and English. So if I go and look at the French example, I see that the title is correct and that the rest of the dashboard is also translated. distance, la carte, bienvenue, ceci est le rapport court plus. Yes, perfect. So I found a way for me to only have to build the report once and then propagate it, copy it, broadcast it automatically in all the different languages that I need. And again, not only languages, because we can replace anything. Colors, that might be fun, but not always necessary. Although, what if you need to create copies for external clients that need to be styled to their needs? Well, you can apply their house style by replacing colors and maybe images even with the adequate substitutes for that client. So you could broadcast an external report for 100 clients like this, place them in the right location. It doesn't have to go to the same project, and then have that automatically, generated based on a single template again. So again, so this is another issue that we saw was really common. And now we're going to get to the fifth and final demo for today, which I think we'll do in two smaller parts. But this probably addresses the most common of those themes, of those situations that we may have identified in our surveys, which is, yes, but not only do we have way too many reports in our messy project structure on Tableau server, on top of that, we started using Power BI 2 years ago, and our users are just not sure where to find which report anymore. Even if they know it's on Tableau, they're not going to know exactly where to look, and that's really quite a problem. So Orbit One offers additional modules that make this possible, that make this easy, that make finding these reports easy for your end users. And there's two distinct approaches to this. One is what we'll call the portal, and the other one is what we'll call the organizer. And the difference between those is the portal is centrally managed by administrators and perhaps analysts, and they take decisions for reorganizing for users. Like they will make important context surface first. They will do this and they will make decisions maybe for a certain subgroup of users, and then that subgroup will access that portal. Or otherwise, there's the organizer where the user, the end user, the viewer becomes the one in charge of creating a structure and just consuming analytics like that. And I'll just show them because I know again it's really quite abstract. I guess I didn't really have to exit the slideshow, but this will be clear when you see it. So back to Orbit One, back to our I guess start page, and we'll go to the portal first. And I'm going to show you one example of a portal where, again, centrally, the admins have done all of the work to um, specifically select the reports that they want to be available in here. So maybe whereas there are 5,000 reports on Tableau server, here I'm going to consume in a more easy to access overview the most important ones categorized the way that I need them. Like, oh, I know that I need a report about a project, like our tab move projects where we migrate from server to cloud. I can access that here right away without knowing where it sits on Tableau server. I mean, it's here, it's in this project structure, but I didn't need to know that as an end user. Moreover, you will have noticed this, I take it. Not only are there Tableau projects here, but if I do not know where to look for my running dashboard, I don't need to know whether it's on Power BI or on Tableau. I can just open this here and then consume analytics and insights all from the same place because we can connect to, well, currently mostly these platforms as well as a few others, but I guess at the end of the day, any analytics platform to consume the insights centrally, and that is quite interesting indeed as well. There's even this one here, which looks a bit different. Sorry. This one is actually a live view, meaning it's not the thumbnail with the title and with some information. It is actually the very dashboard. There's no tooltips or anything in this one, but it is that dashboard loaded live and embedded in here as kind of a little widget, if you will. So we can use that as well. And we can add text to provide context. And you could build any kind of portal that you want with this to provide all that context that you need and curate the content that your users are really wanting to consume. And you could create one, you could create three for three different teams, you can do whatever you want. And you can go even further. Like I have an example here where We only have one curated section, again, with a few live views, which are about our planning and some sales, but then also, oh, some pulse in here, some data sources, and all the content across all my environments. So I can look for my tab move migration metrics, and everything just appears here centrally. So it doesn't need to be completely curated. I can still find anything across all environments that I might want to access here. This is a lot, I realize, but we don't have time to, go into much more detail than that. There will be room for questions if you'd like. Um, but that's one approach again. So the centrally managed portal where I can enable or disable a search feature, curate sections. And then if you want to really, really enable your users to um, apply their own mind map or context or structure, then there's the organizer as well. And what this is a completely custom folder structure. Um, Working on the Tableau Next implementation, so there's a warning here about permissions, but that is what it is. But here on the left side, as well as in the main area, I guess, what I'm seeing is my personal project structure that I have defined, where I can actually organize things, reports. So I can go into Bistry Works and I will have my works prioritizer here, for example. Imagine if the credentials were embedded in the report, then I would be able to see it. But yeah, so I've organized this the way that I see the content structure, the way that I want to work with it. So we have a number of things here. Again, we support the live views as well as embedded ones. And just like the other ones, we have Power BI mixed in. Look, here's a Snowflake table even that I can look at. I think, yeah, I haven't used OAuth in a while, so I could just sign it out and back in and it'll work. But long story short, the organizer gives me a way of organizing with folders, labels that I forgot to show, um, the reports that I use. I don't care about, what the central admin team thinks is important, but I want to be able to access what I use as quickly as possible, and I can do that here with the organizer. Anyway, wow, if you are still here, you have just consumed a ton of information, so let's slow down and summarize. We have simply shown you three solutions, I guess, although maybe a bit more if you go into the specifics, but we've just shown you a few solutions based on very common themes and problems that we have identified as Bistory with our clients and with our own work over a decade. And those are those modules for Orbit One. Again, Orbit One is a platform that facilitates all this. It has the same backend that makes it possible, that connects to all the analytics platforms. But these are technical details that you probably shouldn't worry about right now. Instead, I guess, if you are interested, what I can tell you is you can go and try Orbit One, or at least register for a trial. And you can use the QR code here for this. I think that this will bring you to a form so that we can get your information and reach out about the trial. But you will obviously also be able to find additional information about the platform, about these modules that we saw today, and about other modules that may not even have been discussed yet, because believe me, there is much more. I think we should be able to say that there is something for everyone in here, whether it's for viewers, whether it's for analysts or creators, or whether it's for administrators. There are so many problems we've encountered that there are so many solutions we can develop. We've only just started and there are already quite a few out there. So check out if there is anything that would work for you. And with that, I guess, thank you. Um, if you are still here, thank you for bearing with me in this whirlwind of demonstrations and facts and a showcase. You're very welcome to use the webinar's question functionality if you would like. I will hang out here for a few more moments and monitor the chat and questions. And otherwise, I'll just go back one step in case you missed the QR code. Thank you for joining us.